Hello and welcome. My name is Chris Shelton, coming to you from a beautiful day in San Jose, California, the heart of Silicon Valley, with your DIY home remedies for health, happiness, and healing transformation. Today what I thought I'd talk to you about is how we get sick and what are the root causes and what can we do in order to prevent us getting sick. So how do we get sick? Well, number one, first and foremost, how we get sick or our susceptibility of getting sick is based upon our overall constitution. So at the time of conception, between God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, God, your parents, and your environment predetermines your battery of your life. And this battery is stored in the kidneys. And the kidneys predetermine how long your life will be. I mean, unless you get hit by a car or you do die early, prematurely from some disease or some severe illness. So looking at the size of the ears, your plethrum, your chin will predetermine how strong your overall constitution will be. So the bigger the ears are, the stronger the chin is, the longer and deeper the plethrum is, tends to tell us that that person has a very strong kidney well or a very strong upright chi, or the jing chi is very strong. So what does that mean? Well, somebody that tends to have smaller ears or maybe a smaller chin or recessed chin or a smaller plethrum tends not to be able to fight off stress that well, tends not to be able to fight off illnesses that well. You may know somebody, or yourself for example, that has smaller ears, that if you went out and had a couple drinks with your friends, or don't recover quite as well as maybe somebody else with bigger ears. Why? Because that well is just not as strong. So we have to preserve this kidney chi, or our constitutional chi. And really understanding and accepting the fact that, okay, my constitution is set up like X, Y, and Z because we're all like snowflakes, we're all different. So if you know you have a weaker constitution, then one of the number one things you need to do to preserve your kidney chi is to get sleep. Sleep is the number one tonic for helping to preserve health and longevity. And actually taking 20-minute power naps every day is actually really good for you as well too. So if you're somebody that has a weaker constitution, tends to find themselves being overwhelmed by stress very easily, tends to get sick very easily, then take time and listen to your body and recharge yourself. Now, another thing that could actually enhance your kidney chi or your overall constitution is doing practices like Qigong. Qigong and Tai Chi have historically been known as the fountain of youth, and the reason why, number one, first and foremost, is because we focus on this lower dantian region, which is connected back to the kidneys. And these kidneys, again, are our battery. So as we age, this battery naturally declines. So by doing practices like Qigong, what it does is it helps to preserve the kidney chi or slow that aging process down. It also gives us tools to deal with our emotional state, which is another thing that creates disease. So when we're looking at our overall constitution and things that we could do, yes, sleep is number one. Secondly is incorporating practices like Qigong and Tai Chi into your life. But the next thing that we have to look at of how to prevent getting sick, or how do we get sick, is looking at what we're putting into our bodies. So genetically modified foods, processed foods, I've heard different arguments out there, like there's been no proof scientifically that genetically modified foods actually creates disease in the body. I believe that anything that goes against nature or natural law, which is not man's law, is not good for us. And now for some of us that have a stronger constitution, having these processed foods, we may not see the ramifications or the ill effects or ill side effects as a result of eating these processed foods for quite some time. And I know a lot of people that look fit but eat McDonald's a lot or eat Taco Bell. They're eating fast food a lot as opposed to having food that's cooked at home, that's organic and is wholesome, and there's love and there's positive intention put into the food. So they may not see the ramifications because their constitution is stronger, but over time, and genetically speaking, you actually over time what will happen is that it will actually weaken the DNA, and so next generations that come forth, then what will happen is that you may not see it in your lifetime, but if you have kids and grandkids, we may start to see it as it goes down the family chain. There's a report that was written years ago called the Pottinger's effect. So Dr. Pottinger did a study on cats. He took two groups of cats. One group of cats, he fed them all meat that was not organically raised or whatnot, and he fed the cats things that they normally do eat in a wild environment or a natural habitat. And what he found was that after so many generations, actually the cats that were fed foods that they shouldn't be eating, they actually were not able to reproduce. It actually became sterile. So then their family tree actually would die off with the last group that was unable to reproduce. So the foods that we eat It doesn't always maybe show up in our constitution right away, but if you do have a weak constitution, you will start to notice it. So making sure that the foods that you eat are wholesome, eating foods that are blanched, trying to avoid cold and raw foods, foods that create inflammation. Sugar is number one for creating inflammation. Alcohol is also something very big for creating inflammation. I'm talking about alcohol in excess. You know, if you're somebody who has a glass of wine a night, as long as it's not a problem for you, you know, that may not be such a bad thing, depending on who you are and making sure that you talk to your primary care physician to make sure that that's adequate for you. But yes, excessive consumption of alcohol, greasy, fatty, fried food, processed food, GMOs. You know, if you have a weaker constitution, you actually will invite the possibility for disease to come in. The other thing too that will invite disease, talking about food, is how we eat. You know, and I've talked about this before, and so how we eat is also a big component. So if you're somebody who sits in front of the TV set who is mindless while they eat, if you're somebody who has a family that where at the dinner table there's arguments and disagreements, this also will create inflammation in the body. This also will disrupt the digestive system. This also will create the potential for disease. And so standing while eating, eating on the run are also things. Chewing the food or not chewing the food good enough is something else that will also create inflammation inside the body. So how we eat, what we eat is something that's so important to pay attention to, because the stomach here is what we refer to as our chi thoroughfare. This is where this earth element, for which the stomach and spleen is referred to, this earth element acts as a harmonizing force for all these other elements and all these other internal organs. So it's really essential to take care of the stomach. In fact, if you were to take proper care of your stomach and eat foods that are healthy and eat mindfully, wait to keep those heated discussions to a different time of the day and not at night or not before the kids are going to school, but keep those discussions to a later time in the day, then it allows for this digestive system to do what it's supposed to do. And it's supposed to be moving smoothly and evenly to help to assist the proper functioning of all the other organs. So just food alone is something that, and how you eat and the foods that are eating, is something that's really good for you to help prevent getting sick. But if you're not doing that, if you do live in an abusive environment, if you do live in a household where there's bickering and arguing, or if you do live in a household where it's high stress, if you are eating on the run all the time, and if you are eating fast food and eating out all the time, then these are things that will contribute to the degeneration of the body and cause you to get sick. Now, the other thing too that we have to look at too is our genetics. So besides talking about our pre-heaven essence, which I talked about in the opening of this video, which is stored back into our kidneys, our genetics also tells us too how well or how strong our constitution will be. But science is now proving that if a person, let's say in their DNA strand or in their history, has a history, let's say heart disease, diabetes, has a history of migraines. Science now is starting to prove that if the person changes what they eat, changes their environment, changes also how they emotionally respond to situations and stimuli, they actually will not get the disease. And what's really cool is that science is now proving that the DNA, the helix, even though we go back 32 or 33 generations, the helix itself, even to have strands of, let's say, heart disease within that helix model, most of the DNA itself actually wants to be healthy. In fact, in my clinical practice, even when I see people with diseases that they've had for a long time, or degeneration, let's say, of the disc, or degeneration of the nervous system, you know, my attitude is that sometimes our body gets stuck, and we need somebody like me to come in to be able to help to facilitate the body to do what it wants to do. And your DNA wants to be healthy. Your body does not want to be sick. And the body is always looking for a way to achieve balance, just like our environment is. In our outside environment, we have certain weather conditions that are happening that may seem unnatural. We have natural disasters that are really horrifying and horrific. But you know what? It's really the earth and the nature's way of trying to restore harmony. And because we are an extension of nature, our bodies are no different. Okay, so what is the other thing that causes us to be sick? Well, this is, if you've paid attention to enough of my videos, for me, number one, first and foremost, also is emotional stress and trauma. And we all have emotional baggage. Some of us have more, some of us have less. Disease shows up in the body when you do not express your emotions appropriately. So you have to really check in with yourself and say to myself, is this something that's bothering me, or this is something that's bothering me? Do I need to say something and let it go? Or do I not need to say something, but I still need to let it go? Some of the worst diseases that I see out there is when a person is in total ignorance to their emotional state. Anger is probably one of the biggest emotional components that I see out there, where it shows up as disease in the body, not because anger is bad, but because the person does not show it properly. So it creates things like depression, trigeminal neuralgia, creates neurological conditions, migraines, all sorts of digestive issues, Crohn's, colitis, IBS, menstrual problems. So if you're somebody that has menstrual PMS symptoms, in Chinese medicine, that's actually considered a disease. And so we really need to look at, well, what is going on with the anger in our life and how are we holding on to it? And anger is not a bad emotion. Anger is something that's there to help us to create positive change in the world. But if anger is causing depression, causing you to eat too much, causing you to abuse substances, causing you to go home and kick the dog or kick the cat or get in a fight with your spouse and your kids, then you know what, that anger no longer is serving you. So simple practices like Qigong are really good in order to be able to help with that anger and help with the side effects of what that anger does. But I talk about anger a lot, but also other emotions too, like fear. Sometimes people are angry because it's a cover-up for fear, and it's also a cover-up for sadness. So if you're somebody who's afraid, then they will cover up that fear actually with anger. If you're somebody who's sad, who doesn't want to show that they're sad, will cover it up with anger. So other emotions too, when it's not processed properly, creates inflammation inside the body, which also leads for the potential for us to get sick. And then you combine everything together, weaker constitution. Environmentally, my environment is not healthy. The food that I'm eating is not healthy. My genetics maybe are a little bit weaker, and then I'm not showing or expressing my emotions properly, or not doing something to process them. Boy, then you set yourself up for getting sick, and all kinds of illnesses will show up. And what's interesting is that all these internal organs here. This is the 5-element chart. This will be a different video later on, but anybody who practices acupuncture or Chinese medicine understands the depth of this chart. But these 5 elements represents the 5 major organs of the body, actually the 6 major organs, which are then paired with another 6 internal organs of the body. Okay, so when these organs get out of balance, guess what? Even if you have stomach problems, well, guess what? Chances are you're affecting your heart. Chances are you're affecting your liver. Chances are you're at some level affecting the production of blood from the lungs. Chances are you're affecting your kidneys. So the thing is that when these organs are not in harmony with one another, this will create disease. This allows for us to get sick. So there's so many different things when we look at. The other thing too, and I've been saying this the whole last month of December, is who you surround yourself with. Only surround yourself with people that are supporting, loving, and that respect your boundaries. Anybody that talks negatively to you, anybody that does not respect your boundaries, anybody who is not supportive of you and uplifting to you and your cause and what your life purpose is, you know what? They don't need to be in your life. There's plenty of people out there with the same vibration as you, and I'm really big also on family members that are what I call are sick and don't really know that they're sick, so they're toxic, and then they try to project that toxins onto you. This is something else that also will create illness if we're not careful. So be sure to understand and recognize when you're around people that are sick. Right now I'm reading a book called How to Suffer in 10 Easy Steps by William Arndt, and one of the chapters he's talking about is each of us has a worldview. A worldview is also compared to as our paradigm. So how do we view the world based upon our life experiences, our wisdom, the knowledge that we've gained up to this point? And a lot of times, like what William says in his book, is that a lot of times other people will try to change or alter your worldview or change or alter your paradigm, especially if they feel threatened by where you're going with how you're as long as you're going in a positive direction anyways, but they'll try to change that paradigm or change your worldview because it gives them a sense of false power or false superiority. So really pay attention to who you hang around with, because you could be eating right, your constitution could be strong, you could have a strong spiritual connection, and if you're around people that are toxic and sick, guess what? That will make you sick. So what can we do? Well, first and foremost, have healthy relationships, healthy boundaries with people. I love Caesar the Dog Whisperer because he says that people need boundaries, rules, and limitations. And I basically think that's correct. You have your boundaries with people, what's correct for you and what's not. Healthy people, healthy food, pay attention. And everybody's like a snowflake, so really pay attention. Look at books, start reading books. Dr. Mao Xingni has a book called the Tao of Nutrition, which lists the energetic properties of food, indications and contraindications, and also some gentle recipes of how to prepare some of these foods to enhance your health, but also change the process of disease. So looking at the energetic properties of food is something else that will help us to prevent getting sick or reverse a process if we are sick or somebody who gets sick very easily. Making sure to get enough sleep. Again, enough sleep is important. Practicing practices like Qigong and Tai Chi, doing the 5-element cleansing exercises, which are found on this YouTube page. So click on the link below for the playlist for the 5-element cleansing exercises to work with all 5 of these yin and yang organs of the body, and understanding that even if I was born with a weaker constitution, what kinds of things can I do to preserve my kidney jing or my overall underlying upright chi of the body. So sleep is number 1, food, practicing Qigong and Tai Chi. Mirror talk, that's another thing too, is that if you are somebody who is sick a lot, not focusing on the illness, not focusing, like letting it identify you as a person, like, I have fibromyalgia. No, the fibromyalgia, you're not an owner of fibromyalgia. You may have a condition which they label as fibromyalgia, but that is not you. So disidentify with the illness. So one of the things I do in the morning, if I'm not feeling well especially, is I like to co-create with my higher self, with God, what it is that I would like to have accomplished in my life. And so if I am not feeling well, I talk to myself in the mirror and I look myself in the eyes and I say, I choose to co-create with God. Number 1, I say that I love myself and I believe in myself, therefore I create that I'm healthy, happy, and vibrant. And that's what I repeat to myself throughout the day. I don't focus on the symptoms. I don't attach myself with the symptoms. I focus on what it is that I want. I don't focus on what I don't want. Okay, so really paying attention to how you talk to yourself. If you are somebody who has a weaker constitution, if you are somebody that tends to get sick easier, don't focus on that. Focus on, well, what can I do? And again, Qigong is a great way to do it. Practices like Qigong also, the nice thing is that you could do it from a seated position, or some of these practices you do from a lying down position. So let's say you are febrile, or you're recovering from any type of febrile disease, or you're going through the process of a really heavy disease, then you could actually do these Qigong practices from a seated or lying down position to conserve your energy. And again, sleep is the number 1 tonic for helping you have a healthy and happy long life. If you want more information about what I'm talking about here today, click on the link below and order my free book. We want to spread this knowledge around the world, and you are the means for which we're able to do that. Also, if you're somebody who wants to dive deeper with the Qigong, has already been practicing some of the videos from this YouTube channel, then sign up for our online Qigong teacher training program. This is great for anybody that wants to go deeper with the practice, as well as expand their knowledge. And also, if you're a clinical practitioner, add it to your clinical practice, whatever it may be, to further enhance your ability to serve and help others. So here I am in a beautiful day in San Jose, California, signing off. Until next time, I'm Chris Shelton. I will chi you later.